Welcome, Internet, to the Pixel Play Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast where we get together to discuss all the news, rumors, and discussions going on in the gaming world. I am one of your co-hosts, Kaylan, aka Ktastrophy, joined as always by my co-host, Adam, CSRadical. In this week's episode, we are going to be talking about PlayStation acquiring Bluepoint officially now and what their future looks like within that family. We're going to be talking as well about Sony introducing timed trials for demos for their games. And we're going to be talking about a suggestion that Xbox might be looking at acquiring some more studios. We're going to be talking about all that and more. But before we begin, if you are listening to us on the audio, know that you can always look at our beautiful faces as we talk by searching for us on YouTube at Podcast, Pixel Play, all one word. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we can also be on the go with you by listening to us wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. We are also on Twitter and Instagram if you guys want to interact with us on a regular basis. We're happy to talk to you guys about questions you have, concerns, anything you'd like to see us talk about. We're happy to do that. You can find us by searching for Pixelplaycast. And we are also happy to take your emails by searching for pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com. Lastly, we also have a Discord, so if you want to get in, chat with us and fellow fans, you could do that as well by clicking on our bios. Adam, I think that's everything we need to cover. It's getting to be quite a rigmarole.
I know, right? You can't even say Pixel Play Podcast, that many times without flubbing it. So, I mean, this is what happens when you take a week vacation. You're not allowed to be sick because you get out of practice. The intro is worse than it always is. It's even worse than normal.
I like how you equate being sick as taking a vacation.
Yeah, no. I don't believe for a second that you were actually sick. I think you just wanted a week off.
Yeah, no.
Here I was doing all the hard work, putting in gameplay videos that are actually on the YouTube channel. Starting actually yesterday, I put up a Sonic 3 in quotation speed run that you guys should watch, and there's going to be another Final Fantasy 4 related video on Saturday for you guys to look forward to. So yes, subscribe to that YouTube channel. But yeah, I was putting in the work in the last week. This guy just decided I'm not going to make the show this Monday.
You know what? It probably would have actually been good if I had been on the podcast because I had that real sick, I had that sick raspy voice, and
you had like the Batman voice going on.
Exactly.
I did that once on a podcast, and I will never do that again. It was miserable.
No, honestly, if I had done the podcast last week, it would have just been me hacking up along every 5 minutes. Like, even the wife got sick and tired of hearing me cough and I'm gonna be honest. I ended up just I'd be up all throughout the night just coughing, and it was the worst. Fortunately, it wasn't like COVID or anything. Just with my little guy going to daycare, I now get the daycare flu, and my immune system has been complacent and weak for the last year and a half with COVID. So, first cold since COVID, and my immune system was like, I don't know what to do with this anymore.
Yeah,
you shake your head now, but it's coming for you, sir. One day.
Oh, I had a cold not too long ago, so.
Okay, I was gonna say, your immune system is weak and complacent as well now too.
But I powered through that episode. I can't even tell you which one it was though.
So you weren't that sick then.
Oh, I see. So it wasn't sick enough.
Oh no, this was legitimate sick. It wasn't just I'm not feeling good. I legitimately was home one day. I didn't go to work. I mean, I'm home every day with work from home, but I was working. I called in sick to work, and it wasn't even the fun sick where I'm I got nothing to do. I'm going to watch Price is Right and play video games. I literally slept for the whole morning, and I never do that.
That was basically my post-vaccine symptoms was just for about a full day and a half. I'm just going to lie on my bed. I won't even fall asleep. I'm just going to lie down and just let the time pass because I'm not capable of doing much.
Yeah, sheer existence was straining enough. I don't need to add to it.
And that's when you know you're sick, when you can't even be bothered to video game.
Exactly.
That's when you know.
There's I'm sick, and I'm I said, that sweet spot of you're watching Price is Right, you're having soup, and you're playing video games. And then there's I am actually sick and I can't do anything, and that is what I had. So it sucked. And it's still somewhat lingering. This is probably the first full day where I'm not feeling a little bit, under the weather. But
don't jinx
I digress. It was one episode I missed, sir. Well, I guess it's now the second one. But anyways, let's get into it. It's a new week. It's a new episode. Let's get started. Let's actually start right where, let's start with the oldest news. So we missed last week with some of the news. So I thought we can kind of circle back and talk about the big stuff. Nothing huge came out, but there was two big things on PlayStation side. So it was official based on rumors. PlayStation has officially acquired Bluepoint Games, and the next game is planned to be an original, not a remake. So this is coming from IGN and Jonathan Dornbush. So he wrote, Sony Interactive Entertainment has announced yet another studio acquisition, Bluepoint Games, the developers of the Shadow of the Colossus remake on PS4, and most recently, the PS5 remake of Demon's Souls. Bluepoint and PlayStation have worked closely together for years, but the news comes after the studio's latest successful release, as Sony confirmed Demon's Souls has sold more than 1.4 million copies. They go on to say, IGN spoke with PlayStation Studios head Herman Holst and Bluepoint studio Marco Thrush to learn more about the acquisition, PlayStation's overall studio strategy, and about how Bluepoint is steep in the remaster. Anyways, they go on to say that Bluepoint wants to make original games. So Demon's Souls was only released last November, and while Bluepoint isn't officially announcing its next game, Thrush explained that the studio is aiming to work on original content going forward. No exact details about what the original content Bluepoint is working on will be, so it remains unclear if a new game that is part of an existing IP or something entirely new. Now, I did want to mention as well, there has been some rumors that Bluepoint is going to be remaking... oh my goodness, the name escapes me. Bloodborne, thank you. That's the one it was. And we don't know whether that is part of the original, if they're making a sequel, or if they're just making a remaster. Adam, overall, I mean, it's not a shock that Bluepoint has been acquired by PlayStation. This is like the worst kept secret in the world. But what do you think the best use of this studio is for PlayStation? Should they be making original content, or should they be making remasters?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because again, we don't really have that framework to see what Bluepoint can really do when you're given creative freedom on their own. We've seen what they can do, at least in terms of making some pretty solid remakes. So we know they're capable of at least making a game that functions and plays really well. It's a matter of what can they do when they don't have source material to take from? What do you do if you give them creative freedom? Could it be amazing, or could it just be, they're in over their heads and maybe they just can't get, a team together that can focus on one stream? Maybe it's easier for them to do remakes. We won't really know the answer until they get it. But you're right, it was a very, very badly kept secret. In fact, most people that were PlayStation gamers were pretty much just assuming that Bluepoint was going to eventually be bought by them anyway, because they've done so much good for the company as it is. So I honestly would love to see what they do with their own creative license, because they've shown that they can make some pretty functional games that are really well received. So they've got the pedigree and the acumen that it seems that if you give them a project, they're going to take it. So if all that's left now is to see what happens when you let them just go do their own thing, maybe Sony just says, look, just make something like this for us, just so we can at least have something to base off. But if whatever you guys want to do, the aesthetic, the story, just go. But like, do it something with specifically in this genre. Like, even if they did that, I think that gives Bluepoint enough of a framework to go and see what their creativity can actually bring. Because otherwise, all we've seen is what they can do with something already established and just making it better, smoother, and just prettier. So now, if you give them the possibility to just go full balls to the wall, yeah, I'm super down to see what that is. Because even though most of the games that they've remade are not exactly my cup of tea, I still haven't played Demon's Souls. I want to, but I also don't feel like spending a crap ton of money on a game I might drop in an hour because it kicks my ass.
Yeah.
But I'd love to see what they come up with, because they have the respect of most gamers that have played anything that they've ever come out with, because they make good stuff.
Yeah. What do you think of the idea that they're going to be somehow attached to Bloodborne or a sequel or some sort of attached to that IP in some way?
Well, it would make perfect sense. I mean, you just finished Demon's Souls. Bloodborne is literally what, like, I think everybody was put off when Demon's Souls was announced, because I think everybody just really wanted a Bloodborne remaster. And it just keeps, it's like the worst kept secret with Bluepoint getting sold. Bloodborne just constantly has been rumored so many times to being remade. And when a story like this comes out, it makes sense because it already checks off, like, they've already done a Souls game, so a Bourne game isn't any different. And if they were to, say, do their own sequel to it with their own creativity, it wouldn't be the furthest from, or it wouldn't be, no, I'm going to mix up my words too, because, we've been a week out. But no.
See, like, it is hard.
it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could just take this and just make a sequel instead of a remake. I think people would kind of want to lean to the remake first, but I don't think there's really a wrong answer either. And if what they want to do is to have the studio make their own IP, I still think that's a great idea as well. Because, like I said, they've shown that they're at least capable. So I say give them a shot and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't think that it's going to be a full-out remake in the way that they did with Demon Souls. Bloodborne came out on the PS4. I mean, it's not an ugly game. It's not like Demon Souls was years out. Remember how long ago that came out? It was a PS3 game and relatively early PS3 game, if I remember correctly. And so that one did have some room to be improved, but I don't know if making a full-out remake would be necessary for Bloodborne. I think I could see them, not necessarily Bluepoint, but a studio doing a remastered version of that game, along with Bluepoint making a sequel. And I think you're right. I think it makes full sense that Bluepoint takes the reins of Bloodborne 2. They've done it with Demon Souls. They've got that pedigree. They've kind of got that gameplay locked down. I mean, we're not that audience for a Demon Souls game, but I mean, from everything we've heard, it sounds like they nailed it. So it easily transfers over to Bloodborne. And to be honest, it makes sense. From Software is busy doing their own thing. They're not focusing on...
Yeah, they kind of have this game called Elden Ring that people have been wanting to see for like years now, so they might be busy.
Yeah, I mean, that's not to say that like they can't have more than one project on the go, but I think with the success that Bloodborne is, I think PlayStation would want to keep it closer, keep it in-house, and have that be for them and have one of their studios. And I think Bluepoint does make sense.
Yeah.
So,
and yeah. I mean, like, these games are approachable too. I like the fact that there's at least multiplayer. I've played Bloodborne with 2 other people. It can be fun. Still chaotic and stressful as hell, but less stressful when you can at least laugh with other people about your failures. But
yeah,
no matter, like, Demon Souls would have to be like a very low price for me to even take a shot at it, because I'm so afraid of trying it within an hour being like, fuck this game, I can't.
Well, that's the thing, and I'm the same way with Returnal. For me, I am very intrigued and very interested in Returnal, but for the price point, it needs to be down to $20-$30 for me to pull the trigger and give that a shot, just because, I mean, it's not the kind of game I'm typically interested in. Although, based on the fact that I loved Hades and I'm playing Deathloop, not that Deathloop is a huge roguelike, but you know, it's in that wheelhouse, and so maybe Returnal is a game for me, but I don't want to try it at the price that it is right now.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing too with like a lot of us now. Like, you got to be pretty aware of where you are with your money, so you got to be careful on what you're spending like $60+ on. You got to be pretty sure that you're gonna love it.
Being sure that you love what you're playing, that segues right into our next topic, talking about the fact that, you know, we don't want to drop money on games that we may not like. Sony introduces game trials. Try PS5 games for a limited time. So this is coming from Liam Croft at Push Square. Liam writes, Sony has sent out a wave of emails that introduces a new feature for PlayStation 5 owners called game trials. Starting today, the firm is giving PS5 owners the chance to download certain first-party titles and try them out free of charge for a limited time. The first 2 game titles available are Death Stranding's Director's Cut and Sackboy: A Big Adventure. The fine print within the email explains that in order to activate a game trial, you need to head over to the PlayStation Store and select the trial option that's labeled as free. Death Stranding Director's Cut will offer 6 hours of playtime, while Sackboy: A Big Adventure has a 5-hour trial. The timer starts as soon as you trigger the download, so make sure you've got some time to spare, otherwise you'll have wasted the opportunity. Accounts are limited to 1 game trial of each game, and since game trials are limited to PS5 titles, the PS4 version of Sackboy: Big Adventure doesn't qualify for the free test. Your progress, save data, and trophies will all carry over into the full game should you choose to buy either title after the game trial expires. The game trials for Death Stranding Director's Cut and Sackboy: A Big Adventure are available until midnight on the 28th of October, 2021. Adam, what are your initial thoughts on this game trial program?
Great idea, really bad execution.
Yeah, I agree, but I think it might be for different reasons. What's your major gripe with this?
Well, the fact that it's 5 to 6 hours or whatever it is, but it doesn't start the second you hit play. It starts the second you download. Or apparently, if you buy it from a browser, it starts then. So you could potentially click that, and you could be at work at the start of your shift. You see, oh, this is a game trial that's just got put up because Biomuted just got added as well. So now there's 3. So you could see that and go, oh, I'll do that. And then when I get home, I'll download it and play it. And by the time you get home from work, the time has already expired and you can't even do it. So it comes down to like, I love the idea because this would have been great for games like you just said, Returnal, or obviously me with Demon Souls. Honestly, just make it 2 hours from the second you hit start. Just do it. It's not hard. You don't have to worry about timing issues because that's what a demo, generally speaking, is the first like 30 minutes of a game or like a 30-minute excerpt at most. I don't think it's asking much to say a game that likely has 20 plus hours to say, hey, tried about 5 to 10% of the game and here you go. Or you can scale the time based on the game itself. If like Sackboy, for example, I don't know how long it takes, but let's say it took 6 hours to beat, or at least like 6 hours to complete the normal story, not counting getting all the trophies and everything else. Then you say, okay, here's the first 3 levels or 30 minutes. Like you can set the timer individually. The fact that they're baselining it is just opening it for a lot of problems with certain games. I think it really should just be let like it be on a case-by-case basis. And that way you can get rid of this stupid like system they have currently, which is as soon as you hit start or as soon as you, whether it's browser or on the console itself, like the time's already ticking. If you have a crap internet, you're screwed.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. I think it's a huge issue in that it is a time trial from the time you download, because I now need to decide. I need to decide that I am going to be free for 6 hours from the time I hit download. So I need to like start at 3 o'clock and hopefully it downloads in time that I can play it for a couple hours. Yeah, I think that time from time of download really is kind of limiting, and I think that is a detriment to the system. I don't think it's going to last. I think it'll quickly get removed. I wonder if it has something to do with like a security purpose, like if there's a way that they know internally that I could spoof my system to think that I can play it longer. And I thought initially when this came out, like, okay, that's fine. Like if it's going to be the first 6 hours, but I mean, it sounds like I'm downloading the whole game and that can take an hour or two. And if it's downloading the whole game, it's probably also downloading the updates, right? So it's not just the game, it's the updates. And if you have a game that is patched significantly, like let's say a hypothetical situation like Cyberpunk 2077, like that game has massive patches and massive downloads. So for you to get that 6 hours, you're really probably only going to get 3, maybe 4 hours at best, assuming you are downloading at a peak at a downtime that you have. So you must need to download at like 5 a.m. so it's ready to go by 7.
Yeah, like realistically, what they should be doing is once you get a game to a point where it's been out long enough that you've gotten your immediate like pre-orders and your like first 2 or 3 week like buyers. And once the game's been patched to a decent amount, like you can decide, okay, this is about the point that now we need to try to see if we can get some more people to buy this game. We plop a certain time limit on it, and now we get a little bit of extra buys because people now have had the chance to play it, they like it, and they're coming in. Like Returnal again would be a great example of that. Like that would be a great game to say plop in 2 hours on. And just say like, hey, have you been unsure of what you thought about this game? Maybe because of the difficulty, maybe because of the style of gameplay. Maybe you don't really know the studio well, so you're kind of unsure to spend that much money on them. Here's your way to do it. I think this is a great idea. I mean, it shouldn't be considered a great idea because we've had this thing forever. Yeah. But if that's something they want to do, let's go. Like, let's do it more. But like, we got to figure out a better way of the system because the current setup as it stands right now is not great. In fact, I don't even think it's worth your time. Unless you have like super, super fast internet and you have all the time in the world, it just seems kind of pointless right now.
Yeah, it is really kind of limiting there. I think I can almost see it reverse. Like if they're concerned about this time limit thing, what I would kind of say is that it should be a different thing where you buy the game and now PlayStation's going to offer a 6 hour, buyer's remorse period where, after 6 hours you can return the game, or sort of like what Steam does. And I think that might be a better way of handling it. You get the customer's money, you can hold on to it if you want, and that there's an opportunity to try the game. If it's not for you, return it. And that's still one of the benefits that you have with something like an EB Games here in Canada, is that, they do have that, I think it's 48-hour window if you buy a brand new game that you can return it. And
I mean, the only other solution then would be make it a streaming only thing, because then that way they can't download the entire game, right?
Could you imagine if PlayStation Now had brand new game demos?
In fact, it probably would be a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Like,
Because
hey,
you can say,
pay
hey,
10.
you want to play all the big games at launch, but you don't want to worry. Like you can have like, well, I guess not all the big games because they're not going to be Game Pass, but like
Mhm.
you could plop in like a month later, be like, hey, did you have an interest in Returnal, but you couldn't be bothered to it? Hey, give us this much money, per month, and now you can take a crack at it like a month or so later to see if you want to go for it.
Hell, even just make it PlayStation exclusives. All PlayStation exclusives now have a demo, day and date or something like that with your membership to PlayStation Now. Like you get all the classic games, all those kind of things. Plus, you also now get demos.
Yeah, but then we get into the conversation of, okay, now we got to overhaul PlayStation Now even further because, yeah, it wouldn't be worth just padding that. It'd be going back to the Nintendo conversation all over again.
We need to overhaul
PlayStation
episode,
Now
regardless.
Yeah, I mean, we could literally spend a whole hour on that, I think.
The other thing that caught my eye is the last sentence that they have here. The game trials for Death Stranding Director's Cut and Sackboy: A Big Adventure are available until midnight on October 28th, 2021. So these aren't even staying. These are just temporary situations. So what the hell? Like
I don't hate it if they actually have like a consistent run.
Like, like they have like 30 days or something like that each.
Well, no. Like if they have, like if it's like Game Pass where they just like, okay, here, if you want to try this game, it's on for this limited time and you can do that or whatever. Like, but again, the system sucks, so it doesn't really make any sense either. So if it really was like this is available for a month or two, and it really was 5 hours and that's it, no quirks, no bullshit that it starts as soon as you hit download, like then sure, whatever, put whatever time period. I honestly don't have an issue with most of the stuff they're doing. It just has to do with that one little thing that just seems so ass backwards to me.
See, I look at it differently, and I look at it like you get one chance to download it. You have 6 hours as the moment you hit download, and then the game disappears. Like Sony is really reluctant to let you actually have this demo in the sense that, if you miss it, sucks for you. It's gone forever. And then, by the way, it's gone again at the end of the month. So
yeah,
I think if it's a demo, make it available. I think, like, do you think demos help or hinder games? It really should
be there the entire time. There's no questioning that. But if they wanted to rotate them, I'm like, fine. But then get rid of the stupid download thing. Like, just make it for a month or 2 months. This game is available. You can play the first 5 to 6 hours of it. That's it. Like, no gimmicks. It's just for this limited amount of time, you can try this game. 5-6 hours, go.
Yeah.
Instead of this, as soon as you click download, then you better hope your internet speeds up and you might be able to get an hour in.
Yeah. Adam, do you generally think that demos help or hinder games?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
I'm asking you as a general question.
Okay? Are you asking towards the gamer or the company?
Towards the company. Do demos help companies?
I would bet they do more to hinder than they do to help.
Yeah, like I think, I don't know.
I would just make the argument that more often than not, if you're nervous about a game and you need a demo to try it, there's a pretty good chance that game's not going to do anything. Like I would put a like 66% chance minimum that you're probably not going to like the game if you're not already sure that you want it.
Yeah, I think of things like, would I go buy Returnal if I had a chance to try it?
Well, that's the thing.
Would you be getting Demon Souls if
when I say the 66-33, I'd say it's like 66% of the games you figure you're going to try because you don't think you're going to like it, but you never know, and you end up not liking it. The 33% are games that you actually think you might want to give a shot, but you're really not sure just because it's something different that you haven't tried before.
Yeah.
But I think generally speaking, a demo does more to hinder a company than it does to help it.
Yeah, I don't know, like, because I think about when it gets to that point when it is because we're both talking, we both have examples right now in the games that we're waiting for that, $30 sweet spot. Is there a chance that, it's going to come, and when it gets to that point, are we necessarily going to be buying it brand new? And I know those who go for digital will be, but for those who have the physical disc copy, are we going to be craving to go buy it brand new, or are we going to buy a used copy, secondhand that's as cheap, if not cheaper, than what the discounted cost is? And
I mean, you can even make the argument if they put the demo out. We were sitting here being like, well, if it gets under $30, we'll buy it. And if a demo suddenly came out for Returnal and you were like, this game sucks, well, there's $30 they don't get anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really does go both ways. Like, there are some cases where demos were great. I don't think I would have bought Outriders if I hadn't had that demo. Mm-hmm. But I also probably would have looked at Avengers had I not played the demo. Now that I played the demo, I was like, this game is going to suck. And I was right. So I think it does go both ways.
Yeah, I just think with PlayStation, like they generally have like, yes, if I'm a, studio that, let's say, has less investment in the polish of my games, I could definitely see demos being an issue. But like PlayStation makes an effort to have, a certain level of polish to their games, similar to what Nintendo does. And I think for them, there's less to be concerned about in terms of a demo. And it's not so much, hey, is this game bad, but rather, is this particular genre for you? And I think they might open themselves up to more opportunities in the sense that, having those demos. It's no different than having a Game Pass situation, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Microsoft is willing to throw whatever money there. Sony's in a different case where I don't think they can just openly shell out so much money in their video game division. Microsoft can just burn money for all they care, it seems.
Speaking of Xbox burning money, we're just on fire today with these transitions. Xbox is reportedly trialing Tomb Raider, Just Cause, and Hitman Studios ahead of a potential acquisition. So this is coming from Hope Bellingham from Games Radar. Hope writes, Xbox is reportedly trialing the studios behind Tomb Raider, Hitman, and Just Cause with a mind to potential future acquisitions. During the latest episode of Grub Snacks podcast, Games Beast Jeff Grubb discussed Xbox plans for the next few years. After listing Xbox's latest and upcoming releases, including Psychonauts 2, Deathloop, and Forza Horizon 5, Grubb points out the fact that he believes Xbox is happy with its upcoming slate and therefore is looking to try out some new studios with the aim of potentially acquiring them in the future if all goes well. I think this is where Xbox is at right now, Grubb explains, where they're happy with what they have so they can pump the brakes a little bit and then say, okay, let's look around, see what we can purchase. The podcast host then uses an example of studios he believes are being or will be tried out by Xbox, dropping Square Enix's own Crystal Dynamics, Rises Tomb Raider and Perfect Dark, IO Interactive, Hitman 3 and Project 007, and Avalanche Studios, Just Cause 3 and Contraband into discussion. Maybe that's when Xbox will go and say, okay, let's bring Crystal Dynamics into work on this game with the initiative, Grubb explains. Let's get them, let's get to know them, see how it works, see how it plays out. And if they meet the standards, then we'll say, hey, Square Enix, are you interested in selling Crystal Dynamics? I think that's very likely what's happening. Adam, what do you make of these rumors that Xbox is eyeing to try out some new studios to purchase?
I hate it just because I'm tired of this, of everything getting bought by two people.
Yeah.
I mean, look, like we made the jokes when Xbox acquired Bethesda that I'm like, okay, Sony, buy Square now or buy Atlas right now so I can protect myself from all the things that I'm worried about. But like, I don't want it to happen because I want developers to not be pigeonholed by having to deal with the monopolies. But it seems like that's the system we live in now. So every time I see stories like this, it just depresses me because I'm like, great, because Disney's just going to buy them all in the end anyway.
Well, I think this is a situation that the consoles are becoming more and more similar in terms of, they're not changing in terms of what they can and can't do. Like they're getting more and more ubiquitous. And so how do you differentiate themselves? And I think Sony was early to the table compared to Xbox and seeing that the exclusives are what drives your business. And so I think we're going to see a new round of exclusivity like we used to see with the PlayStation 2 and Xbox era.
Yeah, but could we make the argument that most of the studios that Sony has acquired over the years were very, very, very small and doing their own things, or they were just created by Sony themselves? I don't know the background on every single studio, so I don't know. Like, I'm assuming it's not... Sony hasn't had a Bethesda level of acquisition. We're not talking about Sony looking at, say, like, Capcom, Like, it feels weird that, like, Microsoft is going after big names, and anything Sony signs, most people are like, oh, that's an interesting get.
Well, I think it's one of those things, like, and as I said, Sony has been doing this for a little bit longer, and so they have been kind of doing what Rob is suggesting here, is that they're bringing people close into the fold, having them do those exclusives. Like, think about how many games, what the heck is it called? The guys who did Returnal.
Oh, Housemarque.
Housemarque. Like, how many games did Housemarque make for PlayStation before PlayStation brought them in? Same with Bluepoint. So I think Sony has this mantra of, getting people to work with them closely, building that relationship. And then once they prove themselves and once they almost become ubiquitously known as a Sony, thing, they bring them in. when Insomniac did Sunset Overdrive, we were all kind of flabbergasted that they did that. So to see, and then that was really a step out, and then Sony acquired them. So I think we're going to see this more and more. And so, aside whether or not you like this, where we're going with the exclusivity, what do you think? Do you think that we will see Tomb Raider, Just Cause, or Hitman become a console exclusive?
I really don't see Square getting rid of Crystal Dynamics just because like they are one of their key US studios, unless they just are really upset with Crystal Dynamics after Avengers flopping and they just want to clean their hands of it.
Mm-hmm.
But like they're working on the new Perfect Dark game, so if we found out that Microsoft acquired Crystal Dynamics, my brain would immediately go, oh shit, something's going wrong with Perfect Dark as well, and they just want to wash their hands of that company. That's kind of where because I don't know unless the price tag was so stupidly high.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I just, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I can see IO and Avalanche because they're smaller, although IO has been doing Hitman and then they're going to have the Bond game. But like, I could see those. I still am not like, I guess I just have the problem with like what you said, where Sony quietly like is working with these developers for a long time and then bring them in officially, whereas Microsoft just seems to be throwing wads of cash at things, which I never appreciate in any sort of business. I don't think, it's sure as fans, I don't think we really care in the end, but like as a practice, I just don't like the idea when people with the biggest amount of money just waltz in and be like, all right, here's X, gimme.
Yeah, I think they're going to purchase Crystal Dynamics? I don't think so. I think, it is a pretty big part of the Square Enix team. IO Interactive, that's a hard one because I know that Hitman 3 I think it had some bonus or benefits with PlayStation. And we're seeing a lot of the Hitman games showing up on PlayStation Plus. So I think Sony might sort of be courting IO already if they're not actually intending to. But I think they've got a pretty decent relationship with IO that I don't know if necessarily Microsoft will buy it. Obviously, everyone has a price tag and Microsoft can throw enough money at it to kind of, change hearts and minds pretty easily. But I think if I were to guess, I don't think that's the case. And then Avalanche, I could definitely see Avalanche getting purchased. I typically associate Avalanche games with Xbox, and I think that's a natural transition.
Yeah.
But Adam, I didn't want to kind of spend too much time talking about this. I think this is very speculative and rumors I think could happen, but I think Microsoft is right now at a point where they are looking to catch up with those exclusives, and so they are going to go for those big fish. They're not looking to, and this is not a slight against Microsoft or anything like that, but they're not looking to foster and grow studios. They are looking.
They're taking the DC approach.
Yeah, they are buying the big ones. They are getting those ones, and they're not looking to grow or make anything.
It really is a great comparison, though. Sony has been the Marvel, where they've been slowly working things going and going forward, and now all of a sudden we have all these studios that are just crushing. Everything's running on just absolute full speed ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And Microsoft is looking at that, being like, man, I want that money too. And they just figure if they throw money at the problem, it'll make money back. So who knows? Maybe we'll find out that all these studios they acquire just aren't up to snuff. Who knows? Maybe Bethesda's next big thing with whatever space game is that I'm forgetting right now. See, I'm forgetting a name too now.
Which game? Sorry, who?
The big space game that Bethesda's on right now.
Starfield?
Thank you. Maybe that ends up not being so great, and we all look at that and be like, oh, that's Justice League.
Yeah. I think, so I didn't want to, I kind of wanted to just spend a little bit of time, and clearly we're in a bit of a race to buy up all these independent studios. So I thought it might be a fun little exercise just to kind of talk about some of the studios that we think might get purchased out or sold in the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years. Let's go with some studios that maybe not necessarily are independent, but might, switch hands from one publisher to another. I've got 3 in mind that I think that are going to probably get purchased out, and then one that's like a very, very long shot. So the first one I have, talking about Square Enix, I don't know if I see them selling Crystal Dynamics, but you know who I do see them selling is Eidos Montreal. The games that they've kind of made so far, they're known for Deus Ex, which has now been put on ice. They're known for Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which that was back in 2018. They did Marvel's Avengers, which not doing super high considering they just included microtransactions into that game. And then they've got Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy coming out this month, I think, actually. So it'll be interesting to see what Guardians of the Galaxy does. And I think if that one does underperform or just kind of fall flat, I think that, I think there might be a conversation to pick up Eidos Montreal. Did you want me to just go through my list? And then
go through yours, because I'm actually running through myself and just trying to see if I can find anything that I can look at right now.
Yeah. The next one, I think this might be maybe a little bit of a long shot. And I don't know who purchases it. I think both of them might suit Sony better than Microsoft, but I think either one could definitely want this, is BioWare. I think BioWare has been having some trouble lately. They're not doing super great. In terms of, they haven't had a huge success, a huge release. I mean, their Anthem is kind of a bit of a dud. Mass Effect Andromeda, kind of a dud. So I think there's still some love for BioWare, but they're not thriving in their current environment. And so I could see them getting purchased up. Not to say this would be a cheap acquisition, but I definitely think this could be a studio that could be put up for sale. A former racehorse that's not necessarily winning championships, and the owner might be looking to make their money out of them and move on. The last one that's kind of a pie in the sky, but I'd say given the current circumstances that could get purchased, is CD Projekt Red. Considering the amount of time and money that they put into Cyberpunk, and for that game, the problems that they've faced and the issues that they've had, like, they're a company that is struggling right now. And I could see them, sort of needing an influx of cash. And if not entirely sold out, I could see them sort of having a sort of second party situation where they start making some exclusive content. And I think this might be something that either party could have. Could you imagine if either Xbox or PlayStation could get their hands on the Witcher series? I think that would be a huge get. So I think that's a long shot one. I don't necessarily say, but I could see if Cyberpunk doesn't pan out and we don't have any sort of thing come in soon, I could see CD Projekt Red kind of just having grown faster than they can, because you have to remember, before Witcher 3, they were big, but they were small. Like, they were always considered I'd say like an A or a AA studio. And now they rose quickly to a AAA game with The Witcher, and it's a fantastic game and totally earns it. And I feel like Cyberpunk may have been a missed shot. And depending on how much they bet on it, that could definitely put them in a situation where they need to have an influx of cash. It's better to be bought out than to be closed out. So what do you think? What do you think of those three pontifications?
What, the long shots?
All three. What do you think?
I mean, I think there's plausibility to everything at this point. I mean, for God's sakes, like, you never know. Like, I have a crazy long shot in here too, as I just kind of made a list together. But, like, I mean, some are going to be more obvious than others. I think CD Projekt Red is a very interesting one, just because of all of a sudden they're not bulletproof anymore. So maybe after the disaster Cyberpunk is, you could always see, like, the people running CD Projekt Red just kind of sitting there, if the right offer came around, just being like, you can just retire off of this and just be done with it, and then every issue is off of our hands now. We're clean of it. We can just walk away, and it's their problem.
Well, it also, like, you got to think about how much the people have been working. Like, they're working in a pandemic. Like, the pandemic's not been easy, and so they've had that ransomware attack. They've had, or I don't know if it's ransomware, but they've been hacked. They're working from home. The game did not sell as well as it did. Like, they've got a lot of problems right now, and it's curious to see how big their war chest is for their next big project. Like, it may not have the funding that they need to keep up with that level of expectation that we now have.
And like I said, it just may be easier to be like, hey, somebody want to take this problem off our hands so we can just, not worry about it.
Or just, even still, hey, we have this vision, but we don't have the cash and we now need to sell it.
Yeah, it really goes both ways. It's either like they're passionate and they want to keep it moving, or the people at the top just, they don't care anymore and they just want to get their money and run. Yeah. It goes both ways.
What about you? What are your which ones? What studios do you think we'll see acquired in the next?
So I'm gonna go in order of possible to no, but
all right, let's hear it.
It's for fun. I hope that this happens because I think they've got such a good track record that, and this is for Sony specifically, I would love Sony to take this away from people because it makes perfect sense for them being Japanese. If they could get a hold of Arc System Works, the guys who do Guilty Gear, the recent Dragon Ball fighting game, Persona fighting game, and the Grand Blue Fantasy one, like to actually have like, hey, we have the kings of 2D fighters right now in our system. Like that would be a nice like side get, and you can start having some fun projects. Like you could, you know what? If anybody could make PlayStation All-Stars 2 and kill it, it's fucking Arc System Works. Those guys could put together a ridiculous game that features a lot of different licenses all in one package. And they can make it work with their cartoony art style. They can just make everything like 2D, 3D, and just go absolute ham on that shit. I would love that. Probably won't happen, but I would love it. The next one that I think would be kind of interesting just because they've had a rough patch, they're starting to get back into things, and maybe somebody takes a run at them. I know they're owned currently by the Kobu group, but I would be very interested to see what Deep Silver, Volition, the Saints Row guys end up doing if Saints Row ends up being a very good reboot. And that would be a very interesting get for, honestly, Microsoft at that point.
Yeah, I can see that.
That would be a very sensible one for Microsoft, so they could say, hey, look, we can't get Rockstar because Lord knows Rockstar doesn't need anybody, but we can have GTA, the lesser version.
Rockstar is just the dragon sitting in the mountain, just sitting on its money.
It's Rockstar and Epic sitting next to each other with just way too much money that they make from the one thing they do.
Yeah, and
just being like, we don't care about what you guys have to say. We are gods.
You know what? I think that's a really good suggestion. I could definitely see Deep Silver getting bought by either party, but probably more likely Xbox.
Microsoft would make more sense because that's more tailored to their audience.
100%. And I think once again, it's one of the things that's a studio where I generally associate with Xbox.
Yeah, I mean Saints Row. I think Saints Row originally was just an Xbox game.
Yeah.
So there's already the connection there. Now we get to the fun. And
what do you got?
I'm Sony ponying the rest of these three.
All right, what do you got?
So first one is the most likely of all the least likelies.
Okay.
Kojima Productions.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Just cause it already makes sense. There's already a connection there. They're doing the director's cut. I mean, it's on the game trials, so it seems like they have at least some sort of a relationship building.
Yeah. Yeah, that's honestly, I can see that. Next 5 years.
Now, what are they going to make? Who fucking cares? Who knows? Who cares? Because it's Kojima.
No one knows, and even once the game's released, no one will still know what the hell.
All we know is Jeff Keighley's going to promote the shit out of it. So maybe side signage. Sony is going to sign Jeff Keighley in the Game Awards to a full.
So it's a quick chicken and the egg. What comes first? Do they get Hideo Kojima and then get Jeff Keighley?
No. You got to get Jeff Keighley first. You got to start. That's the middleman right there.
Who brings who? Yeah, Hideo Kojima doesn't answer anyone's
phone,
but
just
Keighley.
Lure Jeff into the door, put some Doritos and Mountain Dew in the doorway. He'll be right there. Okay. I've seen the memes. It has to work.
I can see that. Yeah, that definitely sounds. Yeah, I can see Kojima Productions going to Sony.
Now we get crazier. Bungie.
Ooh.
Just because they already had a previous shit relationship with Activision, and maybe seeing what Sony has been doing with their developers and how they've coaxed them and how they've worked really well with them. Maybe Bungie, if they need the money again, because I don't know how Destiny 2 is doing anymore. I mean, they weren't having nearly the funding that they used to. So if they were ever looking for a Destiny 3 and they need an extra bit in the war chest, I mean, Sony is a sensible one for them just because they just got out of a really shit relationship. And if they were going to go into a new one, I don't know if Microsoft is that person either.
But here's the thing, though. Once again, going back to who I associate Bungie, at least traditionally, with Halo, which is an Xbox brand.
And then they happily left.
Did they or were they sold to?
Well, I mean,
do you remember how did they get into Activision's hands?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We are not historians on this show, and if we are, we need Google to work faster.
My background is in history, so.
You know what? Down the line, we are going to need a third person on the show who is just going to be our producer that just gives us all the information. That's going to be the roll down the line.
Send your resume to pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com.
I mean, look, like this is also selfish because I would just love to take something even further away from Microsoft. Like, this is not console war related. I just like the drama. So I think the irony,
the whole point of the console war.
I think the irony of the Halo team, original Halo team, being a Sony first party studio would be quite entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know. I don't see that happening. I think Bungie kind of enjoys their autonomy that they have now.
They probably do. But like you said with CD Projekt Red, if they ever need the extra funding.
Yeah, but I don't think they're in that bad of a spot yet, right?
Well, it depends on if they want to get Destiny 3 going and they have a lot to build. It's like that's really where it stands. But Destiny 2 is going to be going for a while still, it seems. But
this is the thing too. This is the counterpoint, is that I can see Bungie from a Halo perspective staying with Xbox, but at the same time, Destiny, they do have a relationship with PlayStation, so it's hard to say.
I mean,
but you know what? I wonder if
the biggest key, honestly, is I think now that Sony's at least willing to do more PC stuff, I think that opens the door for Bungie because they just they were starting to put Destiny as a big PC game. So
yeah.
Not to mention, if Bungie wanted to get away from Destiny and have another team do something completely new, and they really don't have the funds to work on that, that's another open door too.
Yeah, I think the thing though is with Bungie, I wonder how much that Division stuff was a relationship with Bungie, the developer, or if it was with Activision, because I know that.
Oh, I guarantee. I think most of the reason why they left Activision was Activision, which I don't think any of us. Sorry.
What I'm saying is that relationship between Bungie and the PlayStation. When we think of like, when we think of, oh my, what the hell, Destiny. That's what I'm thinking of. With Destiny, like Destiny's relationship with PlayStation might have been a result of Activision's relationship with PlayStation, because they were partnering with Call of Duty and Destiny, and I think that might have been that relationship. So there might actually be bad blood between Bungie and PlayStation that we don't even know about.
Who knows?
Anyways, continue on. Let's hear these wild speculations.
And this is the big one that there's no chance in hell, but I kind of would love to see the world burn with something as crazy as this. Sega. Only because Sega in the last little bit has really done a lot of restructuring. Like their arcade business is basically almost shut down. So like there are a lot of changes going on in that company, and it seems like it'd be prime time for somebody to walk into that office and be like, "Hey, you guys have been making a lot of changes here. Do you really want to deal with this anymore?" And just it's like, "Hey, look, just come be part of the family and just kind of have fun with the rest of us." And when you think of like, and this is why we're going way off the rails, like the amount of stuff that Sega carries with them is what's more intriguing. Yeah, and like if you want to talk about like a big overhaul with the library, Microsoft's starting to climb the ranks with, getting some big wigs. You throw Sony in there, all of a sudden you have Sonic the Hedgehog. You have like the Yakuza games, which just recently started getting Xbox releases.
Here's the one, Persona, that would lock it down.
Well, and it would already be a relationship that makes sense because Persona's already been a big Sony seller to begin with.
But I think the thing with Sega, like if they get rid of it, like that's them just basically giving up and shutting it all down. And I think Sega's seeing a bit of a resurgence in the sense of, Yakuza's doing well. Like I said, Persona is really popular. Like,
oh, the games are and this is the thing. I'm not saying Sega because their games division is floundering. I'm saying because the company outside of their like production studios is all over the place. It is a mess from what I've read. So it would be very interesting if they just say like, man, like we're doing all these things. Like this is becoming a hassle. I don't think it's again, this is like I said, this is the biggest long shot that I had.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's definitely a long shot. I don't think it's happening.
But this is for fun.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like there's like pie in the sky ones, like, could we ever see like Warner Brothers Studios get out of their game development? Like there's tons of these kind of situations. Like THQ Nordic is really just a house of cards that like I don't know how the heck it's still standing, but like there could be a fire sale on that at some point. Who knows? You could do
so much cool stuff. And if Sega's under the banner, it doesn't even have to be Sega making all the games. Like you can trade off some of their licenses to the studios you have. You could have a team finally like making a Phantasy Star game or a Shinobi game for the first time in forever, or you give what's the company that does their racing games right now? It's is it Polyphony? I think it's
Polyphony.
Polyphony, thank you. You give them like they could do a hang on game like the motorcycle one. Like the old motorcycle. Like there's a lot of weird possibilities that they could do with it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think there's some good...
Most importantly, I just want to see Crazy Taxi back.
Bring back Crazy Taxi.
Let's go. Give that to Bluepoint.
Crazy
Taxi remake.
There you go. It's a natural transition from Dark Souls.
Exactly. Perfect.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, let us know. What do you think of our predictions? Do you think there are any here that we got right that we'll see become a first-party studio in the next couple of years? Which ones did we miss? What do you think will get bought out in the next couple of years? If you guys are listening to the podcast, give us a shout out on Twitter and let us know which ones you think we nailed, which ones you think we missed. Adam, I think that about does it for a show for us. Came back a little bit rusty, but we stuck the landing.
I mean, did we stick the landing, or did we stick the landing as good as I did when I played Sonic 3 on the video yesterday that got released?
Yeah, check it out on youtube.com. Search Pixel Play Podcast. Pixel Play, all one word.
Spoiler alert, I glitched through the map by accident.
Technically, I was thinking about this, and you said, like, I tried to do a speed run. Technically, isn't every time we play a video game a speed run? Just some are more speed runny than others?
Well, I mean, I actually went out of my way to try to do it as fast as possible. So I skipped all the bonus stages and all that stuff. So technically, I put in the effort to, actually go as fast as I could.
Yeah. Gotta go fast.
I mean, every time you play a game after you've played it for the first time, you are trying to play it a little bit faster, but also you still kind of enjoy things a little bit too. Whereas when I played it, I was just like, let's go. No, I can't die. I don't want to die. No, stop. And then glitch.
I'm going to put it out there. You can now quote this. Every game is a speed run. Just some are faster than others.
Put that on a shirt.
You go.
Where's our Teespring merchandise?
If you want to be our merchandiser for the Pixel Play Podcast, send your resume to pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com.
We're going to have so many resumes on the show, on the email in the next couple of days.
No, we're not. No one wants to work for us. We don't even pay ourselves. We're not paying them.
I was trying to make us look good for the people we're trying to jobs, totally employ with all the big money this company has.
No one wants to work for us. Free.
That is the brand that Sony is going to buy, the Pixel Play brand.
We're a lot cheaper than you think, Sony.
What are you talking about? We probably pay to go work for them.
Shh. That's the trick.
Are you telling me I can get out of my job and go work for Sony? Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, let's go.
Hopefully your manager doesn't listen to this.
Oh, come on. That would be like saying if anybody, works at the company and all of a sudden friggin' like the Toronto Maple Leafs walked up to you and be like, "Hey, you want to work for us?" We're like, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but yeah."
And then that's how Adam started cleaning the locker rooms after games.
I mean, who knows? Maybe I get something I can sell.
There you go. You now got DNA that you can now clone, create your own.
Oh God, no! I'm not going to be the joke in like Big Bang Theory where they can try to grow their own Leonard Nimoy through a bit of his hair.
Leonard Nimoy would make a terrible hockey player.
Oh no, it was spit on a napkin. That's right.
I don't recommend that for cloning a hockey team.
I don't know. It'd probably be better than the Leafs now. It's a sad joke for me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap it up there. Once again, if this is your first time watching us, thank you so much for sticking around. We hope it was good for you. It's definitely good for us. If you're one of the regulars, thank you for sticking around with us. We greatly appreciate it. And we'd love to hear from you. If you want to connect with us, you can always connect with us by emailing us at pixelplaypodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions, your comments, your resumes. If you want to get in touch with us more immediately, you can always contact us by searching for Pixel Playcast at Instagram and Twitter. We're there. And as well, if you want to just check out in our bios, we do have access to our Discord. Feel free to join us there, and we'd love to chat with you there. Once again, if you want to check out our beautiful faces as we do these episodes, you could check us out by looking us up on YouTube, Pixel Play Podcast, Pixel Play, all one word, or wherever you get your podcasts. We are now actually on Stitcher as well. We're becoming a real podcast, Adam. We're nailing it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That's been the episode. Have yourself a great week. Bye now.